This is a quick review of the Blade 120 SR. I'm not going to do a unboxing video because there's a lot of them on YouTube right now. As you can see, it's about double the size of the Blade MSR. This is the Blade MSR, really small and very stable helicopter. And this is pretty much the same thing except bigger. So I got the bind and fly version, which doesn't come with a transmitter. And I bind this to my DX6i, and it works pretty well. And the bind and fly version is about $30 cheaper than the ready to fly version. It comes with the one battery and a charger and the adapter and some miscellaneous parts. So here's the battery for the SR120, and this is the battery for the Blade MSR. There's quite a size difference between the two, as you can tell. The SR120 uses a 500 milliamp battery, which lasts longer. It's 12C, one cell. And the MSR uses obviously a much smaller 128 milliamp battery. So in terms of flight characteristics, this is a very stable helicopter. It's just as stable as the Blade MSR. But the great thing about the SR120 is that since it's bigger, you know, it can go outside and handle the wind a lot better than this little MSR. I've flown it a couple of times outside, and it was pretty good. But when there was a lot of wind, it's not going to be able to handle it. It's just under light wind conditions, it's actually able to handle it. Whereas the Blade MSR pretty much cannot handle it. I mean, you could blow on it and it will just like go out of control. The 120 SR weighs about 91 grams without a battery, and when you add the battery, it weighs about 105 grams, 104.8 to be exact. When I got it, I charged the battery and it flew right out of the box. However, I crashed it a few times, and what I noticed was on the back of the tail rotor, the tail rotor would fall off, and there was also a little bearing that was on the tail rotor that would pop out. And I didn't know that it actually popped out until much later when I saw a little bearing on the floor, and I go, I wonder where that came from. And I looked up on the internet, and it came from the SR120. So the little bearing actually is not held in place with anything. So if you crash and the tail rotor falls off, so does the little bearing. So you're going to end up losing that little bearing quite a bit, especially when you're outside. You're not going to be able to find it. So there was a mod that I did to keep the bearing from falling off, and I'll show you with a couple of pictures. Basically involves wrapping some heat shrink tubing around the motor and the little bearing. So basically you get some shrink wrap tubing. I have some shrink wrap tubing here that's clear. You can use black or whatever, but it's about 3.5 millimeters. It's the really thick the really thick heat shrink tubing, and you cut a little piece of it, about a centimeter of it, and then you cut a little hole right there, and then you wrap it around the motor like so, and then you warm it up or heat it up. Just try to be careful because you don't want to burn any wires or anything like that. What this mod also does is protect the wires that go to the back of the motor as well, so it kind of does two things at once. It prevents the bearing from falling off after you crash, and also protects the wire. What I also noticed was on the skids, there was a little nub that would stick up, and during a really hard crash or landing, it would kind of move up and bump into the gears. So what I did was I put some washers at the base of the skids to prevent that from happening. And those are the two mods I've done so far with the SR120. Another thing I did was I added an onboard camera. So this camera here you can buy on eBay for about $15. It's a really small keychain camera that this particular one has 4 gigs of memory built in, but you can buy ones that have an micro SD card slot, and they're really small and they're really light. And what I did was I put some Velcro on the back of it, and then put some Velcro on the bottom of the helicopter itself as well, and then I just stuck it on. So that's what it looks like with the camera on it. The video is actually upside down, but it doesn't matter because when I import it into iMovie, I can rotate the video. So that's about it. This is the Blade 120 SR. I think it's a really neat helicopter. It flies very well. If you're looking to advance from a coaxial helicopter, definitely take a look at getting one of these. This is very fun to fly, and in light wind you can fly it outside as well. And it definitely is a nice companion to the MSR if you already own it. And the great thing about both these helicopters and with Spectrum radios is that they bind with the Spectrum radio easily. Right, so I have this one transmitter that works with both these helicopters.